Hello everyone, this is Roman Fedoruk and welcome to my AP Psychology Review. Today we'll be looking at Piaget's model of cognitive development, what it is, how modern psychologists have evaluated it, and how it contributed to modern psychology. Let's do this. So to begin, we have our first question. What is Piaget's theory of cognitive development? Piaget's theory of cognitive development, developed by Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget, is a model for how children develop cognitive abilities, a process that Piaget outlined in 4 stages. The first of these stages is the sensor-motor stage, which lasts from birth to about 2 years of age. This stage is largely comprised of infants who are unable to think coherently, acquiring a sense of the world around them and the objects in it through their senses. Intelligence at this stage is, according to Piaget, based on action. However, as an infant grows older, their ability to perform mental action is enhanced, culminating in the development of object permanence. Object permanence is the ability of an infant to mentally represent objects that are out of sight, developed around 2 years of age. Earlier in infancy, children believe that an object blocked from view disappears altogether, but the lifting of this mistaken belief signals the end of the sensor-motor stage. The next stage of development is the pre-operational stage, where young children begin to use language and representative thought. Though their cognitive abilities have expanded, children at this stage are restricted cognitively by the fact that they are subject to a few limitations. One such limitation would be the lack of conservation in thought, or the realization that the quantity of matter in an object does not change if its form or appearance is changed. Another would be centration in thought, or the tendency to analyze objects based solely on one physical dimension. A lack of reversibility in thought, or the realization that any physical change in shape, appearance, order, or quantity can be mentally returned to its original appearance, is another limitation. The last would be egocentrism, or the belief that all people around oneself see, think, and feel the same things one does. However, children at this stage nonetheless make great cognitive progress from the sensor-motor stage, as they acquire the ability to perform animistic thinking, and begin rapidly altering their schemas or outlines of how to absorb and interpret information from the world around them. The third stage is called the concrete operational stage, where children aged 7 to 11 or 12 begin to acknowledge others' feelings and perspectives, master the principles of conservation of matter, focus on more than one dimension of an object they see, and lastly acquire the ability to mentally reverse the changes made to physical objects around them, or reversibility. Generally, children at this stage overcome all the cognitive limitations associated with the pre-operational stage. However, children at this stage can only apply the cognitive and logical concepts they have acquired to concrete problems that they can directly perceive, which means that they cannot apply these principles to verbal, abstract, or hypothetical situations. Additionally, children do not acquire conservation of all forms of matter at the same time. Children can typically identify conservation of numbers, liquid volume, and mass at about age 7, but they do not acquire conservation of physical area until anywhere from ages 8 to 10. The final stage of Piaget's model is the formal operation stage, that onsets at age 11 or 12 and continues for the rest of a person's life. This stage is marked by an adolescent applying the principles of both conservation and reversibility to verbal, abstract, and hypothetical problems, as well as problems rooted in the present, past, or future. Additionally, adolescents become able to comprehend abstract subjects, such as philosophy, and they become interested in ideas. This consequently leads to children of this age forming opinions and theories of their own prolifically. That is generally the progression of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Now for our second question. How have modern psychologists evaluated Piaget's theory? Although his general findings are not contested, modern psychologists have found flaws in the methods Piaget used and the conclusions he drew from his findings. In addition, it has also been found that there is more variation in cognitive development between children and across cultures than Piaget's stage-based model suggested. The issue surrounding Piaget's methods is that he relied upon observation and interviewing his subjects, which is a variable way of measuring actual cognitive capacities. Modern psychologists using data collection techniques not requiring verbal responses have come to the conclusion that children are more advanced than Piaget claimed, and adults are less advanced. This brings us to the faulty conclusions that Piaget drew from his work, which, as I just stated, is based upon his underestimating children and overestimating adults in terms of cognitive development. For example, Piaget maintained that children acquire object permanence and the ability to perform deferred imitation, or imitating behaviors they observe in others, during the transition period between the sensor-motor and preoperational stages, as well as during the preoperational stage. However, modern psychologists have found that these behaviors can in fact be found in infants as young as 3.5 months old in the case of object permanence and 9 months old in the case of deferred imitation. This illustrates that these behaviors may well begin in the sensor and motor stage as opposed to the preoperational stage. Additionally, modern psychologists have found that Piaget's stage-based model does not accurately reflect the variability in timing of, and possible differences of, cognitive development between individuals and across cultures. For instance, it has been found that children develop specialization in certain tasks that they have extensive experience with, and this development does not generalize to other tasks that they may perform. This illustrates the fact that cognitive development between children is not fully uniform. Another factor that Piaget's model does not take into account is the variability of what cognitive capacities develop earliest between cultures. For example, children Piaget used as subjects in France developed conservation between the ages of 5 and 7, while Aboriginal children in Australia are shown to develop this ability between the ages of 10 and 13. Interestingly enough, these Aboriginal children proceeded to the concrete operation stage for spatial tasks before they did so for quantification tasks, and this paradigm is reversed for Western children. Lastly, Piaget overestimated the advancement of cognitive thinking in adults because, despite typically being well into the formal operation stage of cognitive development, adults will commonly fall back upon reasoning associated with concrete operations when exploring unfamiliar tasks or objects. However, to conclude, we have what was Piaget's contribution to modern psychology? Plain and simple, Piaget can be credited with the development of the field of cognitive development in modern psychology. And moreover, his theories are still being researched and debated because they continue to hold such prevalence in the study of both psychology and education, a credit to the importance of his findings. Well, that's it, everybody. A general overview of Piaget's model of cognitive development. I hope this video proved didactic, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.